Welcome to the Octagram, UFC, boxing, and combat sports. Mark Charles, let's go.
How are you, my friend? I know you've probably been through quite a roller coaster over the last few weeks. I'm just going to get started, Sam. I know you're a busy man, especially with everything going on. So originally you're scheduled to fight Khalil Roundtree. You and I actually spoke a few weeks back. On April 18th, you were going to fight him at UFC 249. It was supposed to all take place at the Tachi Palace over in California on Aboriginal grounds to work around the quarantine regulations we have. That got canceled, unfortunately. I'm sure that affected you in different ways, and we'll get into that momentarily. But there was a silver lining. There was a light at the end of this tunnel, and coming up here on May 9th, you'll be making your way over to Jacksonville, Florida, to be fighting on UFC 249 against a new opponent in Ryan Spann. So if you can just kind of give me an idea of the range of emotions you've gone through over the last few weeks. I've watched your social media throughout it. You've done a good job of, keeping a smile on, if you will, keeping the brand. So if you can just kind of, open up a little bit, tell us what it was like losing the fight initially with Khalil Roundtree and then having to live through that and then finding out you will be fighting in May 9th at UFC 249.
Yeah, it was weird. So I was supposed to fight Khalil in Columbus, and then Columbus got canceled. So I was supposed to fight Khalil in Vegas, then Vegas got canceled. Then I was supposed to still going to fight Khalil eventually. And then Tachi Palace happened. Khalil got canceled, and Ryan Spann got added. And then Tachi Palace got canceled. And now Florida's happening again with Ryan Spann. So, yeah, it's been 4 fights in about 4 weeks. I've just been doing the best I can to stay ready, staying positive. I had full faith the UFC was going to make something happen, and that faith is paying off. They're rolling full forwards, and it's going to be a real good time.
So you're going to fight a fellow lightweight, Ryan Spann. He's on a tear himself. I think it's like a 7-fight win streak. Almost all of them finishes. He looks like a very strong competitor in your way coming up here on UFC 249. So maybe give us a little breakdown on how you view his style and how you think that matchup will play out.
Yeah, he's a big dude. He's 6'5". He has like an 81-inch reach. He's got a lot of submission victories, a few knockout victories. He's a very talented individual, and like Tapology says, he's on a streak where I am in a rut. But on the 9th, I really see this turning around. It's going to do real well. I'm the first fight of the night, which is fantastic. I'll be the first fight since the whole quarantine thing happened. So I'll be the first athletic endeavor since the whole world shut down. So that's going to be a trivia question someday, and I'm really looking forward to getting my hand raised and getting my career back on path.
So what exactly in your, from your viewpoint, a win against a Ryan Spann? He's on a 7-fight tear right now. You yourself, as you said, you're on a little bit of a down streak. Beating him, what does that do for you at this point right now in your career?
It gets me another fight with the UFC. It's not going to move me up in the rankings. It's not going to do anything like that, which I'm fine with. I will move up the rankings. I'll correct my ship. I've had to make a couple corrections. I've been too casual with the way I've been fighting. So I really got to step it up a notch. And it's more than the win against Spann. It's more the how I win is going to be what really propels me forward. If I get that big win, that big knockout, huge submission, that's the fight that's the kind of victory that'll give me a top 15 opponent.
So we've seen a lot of different things and activities and different ways of dealing with quarantine. But you yourself, Smilen Sam Alvey, can you describe your experience as a, I guess, from the aspect of a professional athlete in quarantine, which, kind of stops you from doing all the things that make you who you are. So describe your experience and what, how you've dealt with it and what it's done for you.
You know what? Not much has changed for me. I still work out twice a day. I still get to hang out with my kids all day long. And I still get to play all my instruments. So not a whole lot has changed. I don't have to wake up as early, so that's been kind of nice because I always have to wake up to get my daughter to school. But now she doesn't have school, so I don't have to wake up. It's wonderful. And it's been another day, or just another couple months in the life. It hasn't affected me as much as it's affected a lot of people.
Well, that's good to hear. You have had quite a strong stance on it. Can you explain what your stance is on the quarantine and how you feel about the stay-at-home orders and businesses shutting down? Can you give us your take on it?
Yeah, you just want to get me in trouble. Every time I open my mouth, I get screamed at by online. No,
I would never want to get you in trouble, but go ahead with the answer.
If you read the headlines, it's the worst catastrophe in the history of the planet. This is terrible. But if you look at the numbers, if you look at who's getting sick, how they're getting sick, the death rate, but you just look at the numbers. You look at what the CDC is putting out. It's a disease that should be watched, but we should not ruin the Earth's, the world's economy over it. It is something that we have overcome, and we need to get back to work. And I think the UFC is leading the way, and me being the first fight on the card. As soon as that first bell rings, Smilen Sam has started the economy, and we as a country, we as a world, we're going to get back to work.
Well put. Well put. All right, we're going to switch gears for a second here, Sam. I need your undivided attention for this. So okay. I'm going to take you back a couple years here. This is I don't think it's the first time I interviewed you, but it was probably like number 1, 2, or 3. It was like the first time I'd ever had the chance to speak with you on the record and talk UFC and MMA. So here's what happened. So basically, you saved my butt on the air, Sam. That's what happened. I mistook you for Joe Lozon in training, and he had an accident in training, and he busted Devin Powell's testicle. So I get on the phone with you, and I knew everything was all good with that situation, so we could kind of have fun with it. And somehow, you named one of your training partners, one of your best friends, and it just kind of, I just realized in the middle of the conversation, I was thinking, that's not who I'm talking about at all, but let's just leave it. Like, I just left it alone. But that was like one of those moments in my interview career where it always stuck with me, and I always always remembered that. So I don't want to waste too much time. I'm just gonna play it really quick here. I'll take one moment, and then that way you'll, with all the context I've given you, you'll understand the context of it.
I actually had a chance to speak to your teammate on Twitter about a week and a half ago, and he's, what a good sport he is, man. He, little mistake in training and stuff kind of tore his groin up a little bit, but another cool guy who comes out something, like that, and he's just so positive about it, and obviously he holds you in such high regard. He had so much respect for you when we sort of traded in conversation and stuff like that. How's he doing?
You didn't say the name.
I did it on purpose because I freaking forgot it. Who, you called me out?
Tom Galicchio, right?
Yes, that's right.
Oh yeah. He and I, we've been best buds for years now. He stood up at my wedding. If he ever gets married, I hope I get to stand up at his. But I nothing but the highest regards for him. He's an amazing person, a very talented fighter, and even better coach. So I've been blessed to know him for as long as I have, and it's just part of the Team Quest atmosphere. We're a happy group of guys. None of us have an attitude, primarily because if any of us have an attitude, Hendo's still there to check us.
Oh.
So we're all we're about the friendliest group of fighters you ever hope to meet.
So thank you very much for not calling me an idiot like some other people may have been like, what are you talking about? Who are you talking about? So that was in February of 2018. So that was 2 years ago. I have not come. I won't sit here and lie to you and say I've come a long way since then. I'm still the same idiot.
Oh, that's funny. Well, Tom and I, we're still buddies. We're still beating each other up. He's been a big part of this camp, even as I'm getting ready for Ryan Spann. So it's funny. I was talking about him just about as much as I'll talk about him now.
That is good stuff. And that's one of those that's a really good memory. Even though I totally pooped the bed and screwed up, it was still such a good memory. So I can appreciate that. That's why I wanted to share it with you. And now I'll be able to share it with Devin Powell because I've always wanted to share that story with him, but I didn't want to do it until I was able to do this, which didn't go off as well as I thought it would. But so let's talk about, before I let you go, and I know you have a very tight training camp as everything is sort of,
it's all in fast forward right now.
Yeah, it's all in fast forward. So tell us what that's like. That's what I was going to ask. What is the training camp like with limited bodies, limited time, and where we're at with the quarantine?
Honestly, I've not had limited bodies. I all my teammates are there every day for me. And it's been a really full camp. I'm beat up and sore every day, like in every other camp. My coaches are still there for me, and we've just been having a good end of camp. It's actually been one of the best end of camps I have, because I don't teach any classes right now. So the gym has officially closed. So I don't teach any of my cage classes. I don't teach any of my kids classes. So I've really just had more time to train.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that you don't feel like there's any deficiencies in your camp. That's definitely a really good thing. So how are you feeling going into this fight? Just, when someone says, how do you feel going into this fight? He's on the big win streak and you change the opponents. Just all these different factors that going into it for yourself. And I have to say, with, just my disclaimer, I love your attitude, because no matter what happens in your career, you push forward and you maintain that the person who you are. And I think that speaks in volumes for you, Sam. So where are you at with this situation, with changing fighters or changing opponents and going up possibly a tougher challenge? I don't know if that's the truth or not, but how do you take all this in and how do you deal with it?
I've got so many fights. I think I'm over 70 fights at this point. I've kind of been here before. I've been on where I was supposed to fight and then not fight, and then I had another fight and then somewhere else. I've been there before. So it's really not that different for me. Even the fighting in an empty arena like I'm going to do, I've done that before. So it really is, I think, an advantage I have is I've done this before. I mean, this is the first time there's some disease out there, lurking in the shadows. But as far as the actual fight game goes, I've had 4 fights in a month before. I've had 3 fights back out on me in a month before. I've had a lot of different changes in my career because I've had so many different opportunities, so many fights. So I'm used to it's not the right word, but I'm kind of used to it.
Fair enough. And what's Temecula? What's the scene like out there right now?
Traffic's a lot better than it's ever been before, which is nice. Yeah,
I can relate to that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nobody trying to get where I'm going most of the time now, so that's awesome. I hope the traffic stays down forever. But yeah, it's all the
second. Are you sure you wanted it to stay down forever, Sam? That kind of contradicts your initial stance.
No, I want the traffic to stay down.
Yes, I know. I'm just teasing.
Yeah. If everyone needs to work away from where I'm going, that would be great.
I've been working from home for 6 weeks now, and I see no problem with continuing this forever.
Yeah. So Temecula, it's the shops that are supposed to be closed are closed. The ones that are open, and there's just less traffic. So it's been, in that regard, kind of nice.
I want to quickly pull up just really quickly. There was you may have already heard of it, but there was a California Jiu-Jitsu school, I think, ran by Tanner Rice. Are you familiar with Tanner Rice?
I've heard the name. I don't know him personally.
Okay, so without me getting into too much detail because I don't know enough, Tanner Rice runs a jiu-jitsu school out in California, and he's gotten a lot of press as of today, it seems like, because they went against the orders of staying closed, and they've opened up. They've had health officials call them, and they basically said, hey, if you want to come find us, that's fine. You can come find us. We have police officers that we train, so that is essential. The officers have to train, so they had some, justification, which I think that's a nice one. That was a slick one, right? So what do you think? What do you think about what I just told you? I gave you it was very brief in general. I'm sure there's a lot more to it, but what do you think about people going against the grain like that?
I think it's awesome. I think it's probably the way it should have been from the beginning. If you're worried about it, don't come out. If you're not worried about it, continue along the way you want to continue along. Respect everyone as best you can, and let's not slip into a depression. But yeah, so Tanner's the first one I've heard about that's out in the public like that. But there are quite a few gyms around here that have had little secret training sessions every day of the week. So they've been around. You you don't brag about it online all that often.
Right. But that brings me to another point. I don't want to say bragging is probably not the right word, and it's not going to make any friends with government officials, but without being public about it, what good does it really do? If you're trying to move things forward, if you're trying to push things in a certain direction, if you're not public about it and you're secretive, it really doesn't do anything for
the difference between posting it online and talking to your friends about it. Posting online is one thing, but all your friends know that, it's not that big a deal in this sector of the world. It is something else. So word of mouth is a little different than posting it online. Posting it online, you get in trouble for. You could get in trouble for. Talking about it, you probably won't.
Fair enough. And how's everything over at Team Quest before I let you go to carry on with the rest of the day in the fight camp? Any deets over at Team Quest you can give us? How's good old Coach Dan Henderson doing? Everything up to speed over there? Shut down.
I was going to say we're one of the gyms that was not open, but so financially the gym's taking quite the hit in this time. But we've got a great base of people that work out here, and as soon as we open the doors, which I think is going to be May 1st. I think that's when California is officially saying we're open for business. I think as soon as the doors are open, I think our rooms will be flooded with people that want to get back at it.
No doubt about it. Absolutely. But it seems like it's kind of convenient that all of a sudden all the states are like, oh, let's open May 1st. And coincidentally, everyone's getting those $1,200 checks right now too. So they're like, we've got money to spend, so let's open up. But I think it's a good idea to open up, but we just have to be safe. We have to go by the protocols and regulations, that are provided by the TDC, and that's really what we can do. Because I agree, the longer we shut down, a disease will be the least of our problems if we shut down for too long. We'll have a lot worse problems on our hands.
Yeah, I really fear us sliding into a depression, not just a recession right now. And if the country stays closed for another 2 or 3 weeks, even, I think the depression is it's a foregone conclusion. So it's and Lord knows how many lives will be ruined or affected by that.
No doubt about it. Before I let you go, I just want to end off on maybe a smile and a chuckle. If you were to match up Dr. Anthony Fauci, if you were going to match him up with a 135-pound bantamweight, who would you have him fight?
You know what? My good friend Jordan Linsky's not in the UFC yet, but he's a hell of a fighter, and he'll be there not too long. He would take it to him if he had to. He was getting paid for it.
Plus, UFC might be a little too much for Fauci in the first fight, right?
Hey, word for CM Punk.
I don't know, man. I think, you know what? That's the matchup right there. Have him meet at 45. And I think Fauci wipes the mats with CM Punk just based off of, knowledge of biology and what pressure points to push. Sam, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for your time. And we will see you UFC 249 in Jacksonville. It's no fans, but you can watch it live on pay-per-view. I will say I'm waiting for a response from the UFC for a credential. It's not likely because I'm not in the cool kids club, but hey, I'm only a couple hours of a drive away. And on top of that, this Saturday, I will be part of a broadcast team here in Tampa for a no audience MMA show. Not to take anything away from Sam Alvey opening up the economy. I'm giving you all of that. But come 3-4 days from now, I will have experience working side by side with the CDC. They'll be there on site regulating everything. So the UFC should take that into consideration. I'm experienced. I'm experienced with the CDC.
Well, if I talk to anyone in the UFC, I'll give a shout out for you. I'll see if we can make it happen.
My friend, very, very much wishing you a safe and a successful fight week in camp. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Hit that subscribe button down there. And when you're done with that, go on over to Instagram and Twitter and follow us at The Octagram and on Facebook.com/TheOctagramMMA.